Right now, a Bay Area county trying to stomp out sideshows by going after spectators. But can they do that?
And if there's not an audience for a sideshow, then there would be less of an incentive to want to be involved in an illegal sideshow.
I don't need the government telling me what I can and cannot do in a public space.
It's not just tech layoffs. Why a grand jury is blaming the city of San Francisco for a lot of the empty jobs around town. At the same time, a neighborhood in San Jose is pushing back against a plan to fast-track construction of new homes. Then, reaction to Florida Governor Ron DeSantis' latest swipe at San Francisco as he turns a Tenderloin street corner into a campaign soapbox.
This is CBS News Bay Area with Juliette Goodrich.
Hello. We begin with free speech versus freewheeling. Tonight, we're digging into the legalities of one of Bay Area's newest plans to crack down on sideshows. So no matter what laws are passed, the stunt driving exhibitions just keep getting bigger, more frequent, and in many cases more dangerous. Alameda County is now threatening fines and jail time for even watching one. But as John Ramus reports, some First Amendment advocates are saying not so fast.
Next week, the Alameda County Board of Supervisors will consider a ban on even watching an illegal sideshow. But for right now, the ban is on hold while they figure out whether or not it's even legal to do that. Spinning donuts in the middle of an intersection while hundreds of people watch and record may seem like fun to some, but in recent years, the sideshows have become increasingly chaotic. Now gunfire is frequently heard, and at one sideshow, a car was set ablaze and repeatedly rammed by another car. That happened just a block from the Alameda County Administration Building. Supervisor Nate Miley has seen enough.
Nothing substantial has been done to try to address the involvement in sideshows, and it's just gotten more popular and, in fact, more dangerous.
So rather than further crack down on sideshow drivers, Miley and Sheriff Yesenia Sanchez have co-written a proposed ordinance that would outlaw being a spectator at the events. Anyone within 200 feet of a sideshow could be subject to a $1,000 fine and 6 months in jail. Miley says it is intended to reduce the crowds that now show up just to watch.
That's the hope, that if there's not an audience for a sideshow, then there would be less of an incentive to want to be involved in an illegal sideshow activity.
But would that even be legal? David Loy, an attorney for a group called the First Amendment Coalition, doesn't think so.
The First Amendment guarantees the right to observe, document, and record events in public places and matters of public concern, even if those events are illegal.
And Loy says there's another problem with outlawing the spectators. It would make the ban content-based, making it illegal to observe or record in a normally legal public place simply because of the objectionable nature of the event. At the board's meeting last week, supervisors heard from Tyler Dragoni, a high school government teacher who objected to the unlimited discretion the ordinance would give police to cite bystanders.
Well, I'm sorry, trust me, bro, is not a valid constitutional carve-out that allows law enforcement to abridge a civil liberty.
Dragoni said he felt an obligation to his students to take a stand on the constitutional merits of the proposed ordinance.
I don't need the government telling me what I can and cannot do in a public space. And our founders agreed on that. They agreed on that so much that they put listed in our Bill of Rights certain things. And one thing that would be protected, obviously, is the right to watch someone at an intersection, even if they are doing something reckless.
Miley says the issue was tabled until the June 27th meeting to look into the constitutional issues being raised.
Can we put more restrictions on that so that law enforcement doesn't have as much discretion in terms of citing a spectator? So we're trying to look at how we can narrow that down.
But he also says government has a responsibility to ensure public safety, and that the sideshows are becoming a major public safety risk.
The ordinance would only apply in unincorporated areas, and while it currently allows for up to 6 months in jail, it may be amended just to fines. So this is just the latest in a string of Bay Area ordinances to punish sideshow spectators and promoters. In Oakland, the Public Safety Commission, it approved an ordinance that makes promoting or planning a sideshow a misdemeanor with a $1,000 fine. In San Jose and Antioch, you can be cited for attending a sideshow. And in San Francisco, supervisors are proposing using drones to fly over sideshows and get video of the license plates of cars involved. One person dead and at least 3 others hurt in this violent crash in Contra Costa County. Our chopper captured these images of the aftermath. You can see one car upside down in the field while another looks to have caught fire. This is off Vasco Road in the town of Byron. It is south of Brentwood. The 3 injured victims are in the hospital tonight. There's no word on how they're doing. The road, meantime, is back open after being closed for hours for cleanup. In Mountain View, this Porsche smashed through the front window of a mattress firm, sending glass flying across the store and destroying the car's windshield. Luckily, no one was hurt. So far, there's no word on why the driver lost control. In San Francisco, Mayor London Breed's office is out with some new numbers in the city's drug crackdown partnership with the state and federal government. Now, they say since the start of the year, there have been 390 arrests for drug dealing and 61 kilograms of fentanyl seized. That's enough to kill everyone in the city 36 times. In her proposed budget, the mayor asked for money for the DA's office to handle drug cases and to hire 220 more police officers. Now, at the same time, Santa Clara County has released some new numbers on the amount of fentanyl-related deaths. They say that in May alone, the number of overdose deaths in the county more than doubled, rising to 41. That's compared to 17 deaths in April, with the coroner's office recording 161 fentanyl fatalities in all of 2022. All right, on to a new housing fight. It is brewing, that is, in San Jose's Willow Glen neighborhood. A developer wants to tear down a longtime swim and racket club to build condos, including some low-income housing. So here's the deal. The developer is trying to use something called the builder's remedy. It's a provision that allows housing projects to be approved, even if they don't comply with the city's zoning standards.
The builder's remedy only applies in cities that haven't adopted an adequate housing plan to accommodate their share of regionally needed housing.
With builder's remedy, builders can come in with development on pretty much any property, and we don't have a lot of leeway to say no.
The attorney for the developer says there is no lawful way for the city to block the project, and the additional housing is a necessary step toward addressing the area's housing crisis. All right, a study by a local architecture firm shows that nearly 3,000 housing units could be built in downtown San Francisco by converting 12 office buildings to residential use. The firm says that 1/3 of the buildings it analyzed were good candidates for housing conversion. So here are 5 buildings that were analyzed using publicly available property information and a scoring system to judge how suitable the buildings are for conversion. While many other major cities are luring workers back to offices and downtowns, San Francisco's office vacancy rate continues to climb, currently sitting at about 30%. It isn't just tech workers who aren't returning to San Francisco. The city itself is in a hiring crisis, and that is according to a new report from the San Francisco Civil Grand Jury. So here is some of what they found. It takes about 8.5 months for the city to fill a job. Even the Human Resources Department that handles the hiring has a 20% vacancy rate. The grand jury says the public sector has trouble competing with tech companies when it comes to salaries and bonuses. It also cited the high housing costs as a barrier to recruitment. But other parts of the city are recovering quicker than downtown. We take you to Pacific Heights, where today Supervisor Catherine Stefani welcomed Neon to the neighborhood. The shared workspace business is on Union Street between Buchanan and Laguna Streets. She says she's excited to see it become an accessible gathering spot for the community. All right, there's a push in Congress to amend the U.S. Civil Rights Act known as the Equality Act. So it would ban discrimination based on gender identity or sexual orientation in public restrooms, federal education, mortgages, and much more.
We must do it. It's long overdue.
When I was elected in 2012, I became the first openly gay person of color to serve in Congress. Now, we've come a long way since then, yet today we face a wave of backlash in response to that progress.
Now let's get on with passing the Equality Act to do just that.
This measure would add to the already banned forms of discrimination in the Civil Rights Act: race, color, religion, national origin, economic status, and sex.